Hi, I'm Tyler, and this is the Fox Valley Film Critics. In this episode of the show, we're going to be discussing the next in the lineup of the AFI's Top 100 American Films, Shane, as well as the newest film from the Coen Brothers, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to the show, brought to you by Groupthink Productions and FVTV. Joining us once again for Fox Valley Film Critics is Terry, our editor.
Hello.
Good to have you back once again. So,
Yes.
I guess the week is Western Week. It just so happened that we have Shane, and that it just happened to coincide with the release of the Coen Brothers film on Netflix. So
Yeah. And it's so funny too because I was just thinking on the way here. The last time I was on the show, you had mentioned that every time we get together, we talk about our films end up delving into violence. We're about to talk about two. One's more violent, more so violent than the other, but there's the
Well,
era
Shane's
difference.
thematically about violence. It's about violent people, and not in the content because it's a '60s era Western film. So there's gunfights and people get into massive fist brawls and stuff like that. But there's no gratuitous violence like in Buster Scruggs. But
No. Yeah, but no, yeah, Shane. Yeah, George Stevens directed. Alan Ladd was Shane, and yeah, he. So, how do you? I guess the best question I would have for you: do you consider Shane the quintessential Western?
I think it's like I wouldn't say it's anywhere near my favorite, or I'd say it's the best Western, but I'd say it's probably like the most Western-y Western
Okay.
in terms of just like what it is. I mean, it's like it's one of those like super simple Western stories of guy walks into a family's life and he has to like deal with what his role in their life is before ultimately making a choice. And it's very simple. It's very period specific. So it definitely has that kind of centrality to it that makes it like famous for like just famous.
Sure.
I mean, most people nowadays would be familiar because it's referenced very heavily in Logan.
Mm-hmm.
But it's directly referenced, like Xavier talks about it, but then there's also the stuff with the family that's kind of like the thematic opposite of what happens in Shane's. That's kind of opposite, so
Sure.
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I agree with you because I was thinking about that too. I was like, to me, in my opinion, I'm more of if I'm gonna go Western, I'm gonna go Sergio Leone's spaghetti westerns. That's more my Western forte, but I think that most Westerns that are made after Shane have to kind of tip their hat to Shane because I think, I don't, I bet that, I mean, the thematic part of it, I bet Shane just kind of stands the test of time as the famous, like the man, I mean, in this case, he has a name, his name is Shane, but like you said, the lone man that wanders in at like comes across the plains at the time when a family needs him most and trying to outrun his past, but eventually his past catches up with him and he's got to go out kind of the only way that he knows how.
I mean, that's not new. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's as old as that's what the John Wayne movies and John
Sure.
Ford too. So it's not like that was specifically Shane, but I think Shane works because it just encapsulates that. So
Sure, yeah. But yeah, it's funny, like you said, with the, I wanted to talk too about the bar fight because and I know, because being made in 1953, it's definitely very stagey, but I just want to, how many chairs and how many fists can one person take before they go down? It was like punch to the face, chair over the back, punch to the face. Oh, you just busted a chair over my back? I'm going to turn around and punch you in the face. It's like,
they're rugged men.
Yeah, I guess.
They can handle a lot.
Mm-hmm. But no, a lot of good performances. I mean, Alan Ladd was great. Jack Palance as John Wilson, I think was his
The
guy.
dad, right?
Huh?
The
No,
dad?
Jack Palance was the gunslinger that the rancher hired, and he was basically the cold-blooded killer. Where Shane was the gunslinger with a conscience, Jack Palance just killed people for the fun of it.
Okay.
Because he was the one. I forgot the guy, but the hothead that would always brag and go into the bar to get a drink. Jack Palance provoked him to grab his gun so he could shoot him and everything. So, but no, I think it was that and really nice, like the way where they shot in Wyoming, like great use of the camera, like the mountain vistas in the background and everything on the ranch were
Oh
really
man,
cool. Nice use of
this
like bright
this
colors and
this
everything.
movie made me miss Salt Lake City.
Oh, see, I've never been. So
I was there last spring to visit friends, and you fly down through the mountain range, and it's super trippy.
Yeah.
And the mountains are just like amazing. Like there's always snow on top because they're high enough in the atmosphere, like altitude wise, that they just never get cold. Like they never will heat up enough to get rid of all the snow. Like this movie just made me like, wow, I'm homesick for a place I've never been to.
Yeah.
Or I've been to once.
But yeah, no, really good use of color, just great cinematography all around, and good, I would say good performances too. Like I don't know much about, because God, 53, Jack Palance had to be in his 20s or 30s, so I don't know. I know he's probably a smaller actor, so this might have been one of his bigger roles. I probably should have looked a little bit more into that, but I mean, Jack Palance, famous, City Slickers, things like that, had a nice career after that. But no, it was again, like I said, personally, I think westerns since Shane have gotten better, and maybe that's just because of like better technique, better cinematography, just better budgets, things like that. But Shane is one of the ones I think that every western after Shane, like I said earlier, has to kind of pay some homage to Shane.
Well, the Leone westerns really kind of took the westerns out of their shell. They kind of blasted apart like the limitations you could do with a western and made it violent, and they made it grimy, and they made it like mean-spirited and selfish.
Sure.
Like usually westerns are about the clash of civilization and the eventual takeover of law and order. So when you see the Sergio Leone westerns, they're all about just selfish bounty hunters and people like that who are out for personal gain or personal revenge.
Sure.
Or and there's a very sense of like consequence and tension to those films where the older westerns just didn't have those features to it because
Sure.
they were very romantic in their style. And I think Shane's a little more in line with that as opposed to the. But as you said, it's a kind of it's almost like the kind of a bridge, like one step closer to that kind of Sergio Leone-esque spaghetti western.
And I was gonna say that too. That I think Shane would be like kind of like a segue, because with what you were saying too, with look, the outfit that Shane wears when he first shows up, his gunslinger outfit. I mean, it's just tassel from head to toe. It's like a one-piece thing. This big flamboyant belt with a like gun belt and everything like that, and it's like people, people didn't dress like that in the West. You would have gotten your butt kicked if you dressed like that. It was like
he almost got his butt kicked at the bar.
Yeah, right. It was like Back to the Future 3 when Doc goes to send Marty to the West, and he comes out and he's got the tassels all over. He's like Clint Eastwood never dressed like this, and but no, and that's like you said, it's the Shane. I think not only the outfits and just the Western itself, but the violence. It just took it to that grittier realism.
I mean, I wouldn't call Shane a gritty movie.
No, but I'm saying like it's like with the Leone and Leone, and even the later John Ford movies started.
Yeah,
to get,
Searchers and Liberty Valance
started to get a little bit more grittier and more, and so like I guess like the two main questions too that we can answer about Shane. I guess one I wouldn't be a main one, but hero and anti-hero Shane. I mean, in the 50s they want to paint him more as a hero, but is he really a hero?
I mean, I don't know if the question's relevant. I mean, it's the question of he's the element of the Old West that was necessary to keep people alive that has to go away the moment society takes over.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily that he's a good guy or a bad guy. It's the hero they need right now, but maybe not the one that society needs.
Okay.
So eventually you see this in a lot of westerns. You see it in The Searchers. You see it in Once Upon a Time in the West. Is that you get these violent characters who can't reintegrate back into society by the end of the story, so they have to go back out into the West and just kind of wait.
Okay.
I think that's the same with Shane. Is that he can't join civilization. He can't have a farm. And we're just kids and stuff like that. He's a gunman. He kills people.
Yeah.
You carry too much of that with you.
And then the other question too, with the segue that Shane can't go back in, but there was a debate. There's a debate for Shane. I don't know how long it's still going on, but some people were like, they said that the director left it up to you to decide on whether he died at the end, because he gets shot. And one point that was made is like, yeah, he did die. That's why he rides through the cemetery at the end with the little boy Cullen. But when I watched it again, I was like, I don't necessarily think he died. There was
Usually, ambiguous questions aren't about the question itself.
Yeah.
Like, so if he's injured and he walks through the cemetery, then effectively something about him has died or left, or he's marching down a path where he's eventually going to die.
Okay.
So it's more about the themes of like what does the ambiguity seem to suggest? Is that, well, he's doomed.
Sure.
Either he dies now or he dies eventually because the West just will have nothing for him to do. So he's just walking down a path of death essentially. So either it doesn't matter if he dies immediately or years down the line.
Okay, that makes sense. What did you think of the little boy?
He was fine.
And I know that like a lot of some people, like even when I told my mom, I was like, I gotta watch Shane, and she right away mimicked that little boy, like Shane, and watching it again, I was like, all right, kid, you're cute for like 5 minutes, and then it's like he was just like this, like it was like. And I mean, he nailed the kid part well, I guess, because he was the kid. But it was
Good
like,
job, you're a kid.
Yeah, right. But it was just so like, it was like, dude, this guy just came in. You don't even know him. Dad, do you think you could beat Shane in a fight? Dad, do you think you're faster with the gun than Shane?
Well,
Dad. You know, it's like I was just waiting
I
for
guess
Dad to be like, just go over there and.
I mean, I don't have kids, but that sounds like a 5-year-old. So
Yeah.
maybe that's accurate, depressingly accurate.
But I could have, I guess.
Like
Maybe because I did have two 5-year-olds at one time. I think it was more like. Maybe my dad ears kicked in, and I was like, "That's it. I don't want to hear any more of this. You go." It's like I could have done without that kid after a little bit. I know he was kind of an integral part to the story because I think, kind of like what was that, Man on Fire with Denzel and Dakota. He basically taught Shane that it was, for lack of a better cliche, that it was okay to live. Like Shane and him took on a friendship. I think even more so than than the boy's father, Van Heflin, and I think. And even Jean Autry, I think, was the actress that played the wife. So the relationship was strictly on Shane and that little boy. So,
yeah, that's all the time we have for this segment. Join us for the next segment where we'll be talking about the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back. So I think this is maybe the first official Coen Brothers film for Fox Valley Film Critics? Question mark? Because last one was Hail Caesar, so
yeah.
That would have been. So this is the first Coen Brothers film. Yay!
Yeah, I don't think anybody. I'm trying to link back in all the years that I filmed or edited. I was like, did anybody mention one like as their?
No, I'm sure it's been recommended at some point, but this is the first time we've.
But we actually sat down.
Especially
and
a new one.
Yeah.
So.
It was actually a good one to discuss too. I really liked this movie a lot.
I did too. I mean, I think this is Netflix movies are hit or miss, but this felt like a really good one for them.
The part that it was totally different than from what I thought. I didn't realize that it was going to be broken up into a sequence of stories. I thought it was going to be one long continuous.
Oh wow! You thought you were going to get 2 hours of Buster Scruggs.
Kind of, yeah. I was a little, but once I realized what happened, but I kind of thought it was maybe just a different. Same setting, just different stories happening around that same area. But I think the fact that they broke it up and the way that they, like with the old book with the lithograph photos and everything like that, I think it worked really well. I actually liked it better that they broke it into different segments and different stories.
I mean, anthologies movies are weird to me because movies generally are complete as like you can watch a movie and it says beginning, middle, and end. So with anthologies, it's strange that you get like to see that like multiple times in a row. And then that's the full experience because it kind of calls into question what the whole center of the foundation of the film is. But I think this one really has a good like central foundation. Is that these are all little morality plays.
Sure,
they're all little Western morality plays, and I think that they're all very bleak too. I mean, this might be one of the bleakest films I've done since No Country for Old Men. But
it's funny that it is bleak, but it doesn't really like there's humor mixed into it, which is kind of like Buster Scruggs, like you and I were talking about this last weekend, but he's a sociopath who plays a mean guitar and can sing really well and just narrates all this, like it's just like
he's a classic 1930s Western character reincarnated in a Sergio Leone Western.
Yes.
And it's terrifying.
Yeah. And the end, not to give it away, the end of his story, it was like just so surprising yet kind of funny at the same token.
Yeah.
But no, and I think all the stories in there worked really well. It's just some of them worked better than others, I guess. I think there wasn't one that I did not. There wasn't one that I hated, but there were definitely some that I liked more than others. My favorite one was, and I forget the one, but when they go on the wagon train and the guy he has to fight off that Indian raid by himself with the girl. That was one of my favorite ones. That was awesome.
I need to watch it again to kind of get a sense of what one is my favorite. I think the one that stuck out to me the most was the Liam Neeson one, just because it's so there's no dialogue, like except for the characters, the thespian character who's acting. It's just a very small, simple story about a guy who's just abusing another guy until the moment he stops being productive to him. And then it's implied he does horrible things.
Yes.
It's so sad. Oh, and the kid is played by Dudley from Harry Potter, which I looked it up.
Oh, is that okay?
I know him from somewhere, and I looked it up. It's like, oh, his only other credit is that he was in 7 Harry Potter films. I'm like, well, that's one way to do it. And I'm like, and the Coen Brothers are like, I like this kid. Like, okay, well, now you can have an actor, but apparently now he doesn't. I don't know if they just had them hide the arms for most of that, but
yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
maybe he had a horrible car wreck between. I don't know, but
Quidditch accident.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
But even the one I think one of the so like I said that the Indian fight one was my favorite, but I think as far as like the funniest one was with Stephen Root when he was the banker.
Oh my god! Yeah, James Franco.
Yeah,
I gotta say, James Franco has good presence in that movie. Like usually,
he does.
Usually, he's kind of gimmicky, and like you know what you're getting. You're getting either like Spider-Man James Franco, or you're getting The Interview James Franco. But this is like actual performance James Franco. Like I haven't seen him act this well since Spring Breakers, and that wasn't really performance. That was just him doing a thing. So
yeah, I know. Usually, he's one of those ones, kind of like who's the other one? Like Mark Wahlberg. Whenever you see his name headlining a movie, you're kind of like, all right, which one are we going to get for this movie? Because if it's this one, then the movie's going to be good. But if it's this one, then yeah, we're going to have to write that off.
It's always the same performance. It's just played different. Well, this one's different because the Coen Brothers actually seem to know how to get a performance out of people.
And the one thing that another thing too, like with the whole movie in general, I was going to talk. I know people always talk about the Coen Brothers characters because they make some of the best characters in film, but they're brilliant filmmakers. I mean, the use of color, especially in Buster Scruggs, like that scene when he walks in and knocks the dust off of him, and it's like the outline of him and the dust that fades away. But just the colors of Buster Scruggs and everything was...
That must have been like a CGI shot or something.
It had to have been. I don't think they could do it. But even the last one with when they're all in the stagecoach and with the bounty hunters and everything, I mean, it was just really like... The use of colors and like the sun kind of setting over, like fading out of the horizon. It was a good one to end on too. But no, that's the Coen Brothers. I mean, not only like great character writers, but just awesome filmmakers too.
Oh yeah, they're spectacular. Mm-hmm. Like I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. They're among the top filmmakers around nowadays. I mean, I just did my whole retrospective on them last year for my old blog before I got hired by the ones I've been writing for now. And I just watched every one of their films back to back, and you just see how spectacular it is. I mean, there are a couple rough ones. I mean, Lady Killers is weird, but they've never directed a bad film.
No.
So.
Yeah, and when it comes to that, Raising Arizona was never one of my favorites either.
No, some of their early ones are a little raw, but like they're not bad. They're just kind of they're just different. I mean, like they're young filmmakers trying to figure things out. So.
But I got to hand it to I'm surprised I think and you know what? I just realized other than Tim Blake Nelson, they kind of went with a whole new cast of characters. Because usually they have their go-tos, you know, William H. Macy, then John Goodman, and like they have their...
There are a couple character actors that showed up. Like the actor, one of the bounty hunters from the James Franco segment was a centurion in Hail Caesar. So
okay.
I don't know what his name is, but I recognized him. I was like, oh, it's this.
Are you talking about the big heavyset one?
I think so.
Okay, I know. I can think of his name. He's been in a lot of other stuff too, and I can't.
Yeah,
it's right there, but
he's
I'm
a great
going to
actor,
say his name
though.
wrong. Yeah.
Get him in more movies.
Yeah, right. But they didn't have their usual cast of characters and everything. But as far as like westerns go, this is definitely a western and definitely a really good one. I think the Coen Brothers paid really good homage to...
I will say, we were talking about violence. There's a lot more violence in this than the first one.
Yeah, pretty much. I think pretty much every story had some semblance of like. Well, I mean, like the whole theme, the
Well,
theme of the entire movie was like death can get you at pretty much at any time.
yeah, I mean, there's always most of the stories end up with a violent death. So, and some of them get a little gory. So, like,
Yeah.
especially in Buster Scruggs.
Yes. But yeah, that character, yeah, but as starting the whole show with the Buster Scruggs story was probably the best way that I think
I
they
don't
could have
know.
done it.
I would have, if it were me, I would have ended on Buster Scruggs just because he's the titular character. So just like tease him, like maybe have him show up for one scene at the beginning and it's like, well, my story's last, but you get to hear all the other ones first.
That's not a bad.
I mean, but I'm not gonna correct the Coen Brothers. They're smarter than I am.
Yeah. But I think it just, for me, when I watched it, I liked how it started with the Buster Scruggs because it was just him on a horse riding through the desert, strumming the guitar and singing a song that only he knows, that only he can hear and everything. It was like, as soon as I sat down to watch it, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be good. It's like you just tell it had that feel to it where it's like, this is going to be good. But
Yeah.
again, like you said, with the Coen Brothers name on it, it's hard to not think that you're going to be disappointed.
Totally. And that's all the time we have for this segment. Join us for the next segment. We'll be getting his movie recommendation for the week. Stay tuned. Hello, welcome back to our final segment. Time to get his movie recommendation.
All right, so I'm going to go with the Western theme, and I know earlier I said I was a Leone fan, but I'm actually going to go different because I saw the movie once, and it was on demand, so I watched it again. I'm going to go with Don Siegel's 1976 film, The Shootist.
Oh, okay.
Which, again, more violent than Shane, but kind of the same storyline where John Wayne rides into a town. He was basically a gunman his entire life. The character he plays is J.B. Books, and he rides into a town. Carson City was the name of the town, and he goes and sees a doctor played by one of the last roles of James Stewart too, because Jimmy Stewart was really old too in this, and basically tells him that he's dying of cancer and he's going to die a painful death. And basically he rents a room to die in from the widow. Who played by Lauren Bacall, and her son is Ron Howard. And they know who he is, and they don't like him because he's well known throughout the entirety of the West as he's killed, as they say. He's not a murderer, he's a gunman. So he killed 30 people. They don't want him in the house, but then he doesn't want anyone to know that he's dying, but eventually they find out their secret. And in a way, he befriends Lauren Bacall and Ron Howard, and kind of teaches Ron Howard how to be a man and kind of hold his own and everything like that. And then basically, but the end of the movie is him deciding that he's not going to go out the way that the cancer is going to kill him. He's going to go out the way that he's lived his life, and that's basically in a shootout and a hail of gun smoke and everything. And I think it's not. As I said, I saw it twice, and before I heard of it the first time, to me, it might be a really popular John Wayne one, but it wasn't one of the ones that I've often heard of when you talk about John Wayne. You more hear the John Ford ones. So I was like, oh, like the one night I was like, oh, I'll just watch it and see it. And I mean, it's probably one of John Wayne's. I think it's one of his better westerns.
I've been meaning to watch it for forever, but I've heard amazing things. Like this was actually his last film. So
yes,
and it also Don Siegel. Dirty Harry. Mm-hmm. So Dirty Harry does John Wayne.
Yes, and I think too one of the things that was so cool about it, not only being his last film, but in real life, John Wayne was dying of cancer in 1976 and knew he was dying of cancer, and he's got to play the part of a man that finds out that he's dying of cancer.
Who's not going to go out? He's going to go out swinging. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's sweet. I've always liked that idea. I've been meaning to do a better John Wayne retrospective, but there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
Yes, there is.
And I feel like that would be a good one to end on, but I'm like, no, I want to watch it first.
The Shootist. It's
like the Rosebud.
If you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend watching it. It's really good, really good. And because it's one of those ones that like Don Siegel. I mean, a lot of those old directors, their pacing was just brilliant because it's like it starts off with the backstory on J.B. Books, so you know who he is, you know what he's about, and like as he gets into towns, little things kind of start to provoke him towards that, but he's trying to I don't. It's like I'm done with that. I want to die peacefully, and then it's like it gets to the point where he's like, you know what? No, he's like, nope. I've lived my life this way. I'm gonna die this way, and that whole climactic shootout is just awesome.
That's all the time we have for this episode of the Fox Valley Film Critics. If you like this, you can find recordings on the Group Think Productions YouTube page. You can follow me on Twitter at AntisocialCriti, that's critic without the C at the end of it. And you can find more of my written reviews at Geeks Under Grace and Legal Insurrection. I'm Tyler with the Fox Valley Film Critics. Have a wonderful day.